next 5 years, I worked as the paper's literary editor in a big, squarish, ugly building in the Gray's Inn Road. My fellow journalists were all shaken by the year of closure they had endured and eager to get back to work. I was grateful to have an occupation that kept me busy and needed close attention. I usually bicycled to work, probably the first literary editor to do so, and those parts of the day were important to me, giving me time when I was unreachable and could think my own thoughts. My route through Camden, along Bayham Street, round Somerstown, across the Euston Road, Judd Street, past Corham Fields, and into the Gray's Inn Road became so familiar that I could do it while hardly noticing the world I was pedalling through. When the traffic became particularly menacing, I took it as a challenge, scrambling round lorries and getting along so much faster than the cars. A writer friend marvelled at the power I was to have commissioning reviews that would be going out to something like 1 million readers each week. I knew that literary pages are supposed to make bestsellers, but I wanted mine to cut across the bestseller culture, to draw attention to the unexpectedly good, the unknown writer with something new to say, the odd, the difficult but worthwhile. And whatever passion was left in me, I was passionate about making our book pages the best in the business. I started as the paper came to life again after its year out. As though to mark the end of an era, Raymond Mortimer died in January 1980. He had been joint chief literary critic of the Sunday Times with Cyril Connolly for many years. Connolly died in 1974, and both had written elegant and influential reviews. Harold Evans, our editor, had already invited John Carey to write regular reviews, to my delight, since I believed Carey's distinctly different voice was going to become more powerful still, as indeed it has done. My ambition was to print at least one piece every week that would attract readers not usually interested in the book pages, and I saw John as the sharpest critic in the business and most likely to draw them in. I wanted a new tone for the book pages, and also set out to bring in young contributors to enliven the paper. Julian Barnes came from the New Statesman to be my deputy, and was as congenial a colleague as I could have hoped for. He was also happy, just married to Pat Kavanagh, the formidable and beautiful literary agent, and about to publish his first novel, Metroland. We worked on the 4th floor, with windows looking west. The windows had been fixed shut because we had air conditioning and were wrenched open by our colleagues who preferred the air from outside. I liked that, and was also pleased to discover that the mansion flats next door had been lived in by Catherine Mansfield, whose biography I was again supposed to be working on. She was there from 1909 to 1911, when she was writing for magazines and published her first book, and living on the 4th floor, so I had the same westward-looking views. Both buildings have now been demolished. Inside was the familiar sight of book parcels piling up on the tables, catalogues, proof copies, letters from publishers. The literary department shared a large open-plan space with the arts department, but the literary editor was still obliged to have a lockable room in which to keep the books. It was not meant as a retreat, although I found it useful as one, but was provided because, if the books were not locked up, they would be stolen at a great rate by the other journalists, all enterprising and curious people. Many of our journalist colleagues liked to come by for a chat and to turn over a book or two, but since they reported the real world of politics, foreign affairs, wars, crime, finance and fashion, they viewed us with condescension. We were not proper journalists, we were told, but dilettantes inhabiting an ivory tower. Hard-working dilettantes we were. I was my own secretary for very many months because the union troubles at the paper meant I had only occasional and inefficient help. I had to stay late almost every evening to keep up with things. It was a comical situation, since callers wanting to speak to the literary editor almost always assumed he was a man, so when I answered the telephone, I was regularly taken for the secretary, which of course I effectively was, in addition to being literary editor. I learnt about real secretarial skills from Sarah Foreman, who worked for the arts editor.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.